1960s, a decade of transformation and turmoil, saw significant changes in India's socio-political landscape. Amidst the wave of land reforms, the Golaknath family from Punjab challenged the validity of the 17th Amendment, a move that would escalate into one of the most significant constitutional debates in Indian history. The case wasn't just about one family's land. It symbolized a broader struggle over the sanctity of fundamental rights versus the power of the legislature to bring about social change. The nation watched as this case unfolded in the highest court of the land. The 17th Amendment, passed in 1964, aimed to protect land reform laws from being challenged in courts by placing them in the 9th schedule of the Constitution. Chief Justice Subba Rao and his bench faced the monumental task of deciding whether Parliament had the power to amend fundamental rights. This case would set a precedent for the interpretation of the Constitution and the balance of power between the judiciary and the legislature. It sparked widespread public interest and debate, highlighting the importance of constitutional safeguards in a democracy. At the heart of the Golaknath case lay a fundamental question: could Parliament, vested with the power to amend the Constitution, alter the very essence of fundamental rights? This case was not just a legal battle, but a philosophical one, questioning the very foundation of Indian democracy and the sanctity of its constitution. The petitioners argued that these rights, being sacrosanct, must remain beyond legislative reach. They believed that allowing Parliament to amend fundamental rights would undermine the core principles of justice, liberty, and equality enshrined in the Constitution. The petitioners emphasized that these rights were the bedrock of Indian democracy, and any attempt to alter them would be a betrayal of the nation's founding ideals. On the other hand, the government contended that such amendments were essential to implement social and economic reforms. They argued that the ability to amend the Constitution was crucial for the nation's progress and development. The government maintained that without this power, it would be impossible to address the pressing issues of poverty, inequality, and social injustice that plagued the country. The intensity of the arguments in the courtroom reflected the gravity of the issue at hand. Both sides presented compelling arguments, making it clear that the outcome of this case would have far-reaching implications for the future of Indian democracy. The justices listened intently, aware that their decision would set a precedent for generations to come. For the first time, the Supreme Court was faced with the daunting task of defining the limits of its own powers and those of the Parliament. The justices had to carefully consider the balance between preserving the sanctity of fundamental rights and allowing the government the flexibility to enact necessary reforms. This case was a turning point in Indian constitutional history, as it forced the judiciary to confront the delicate interplay between law and politics and to define the boundaries of constitutional amendments. The roots of this case can be traced back to the Indian independence movement, where the fight for fundamental rights was a core issue. The framers of the Constitution, inspired by the struggles and sacrifices of countless freedom fighters, enshrined these rights to ensure that every citizen could live with dignity and freedom. The government's argument for the necessity of constitutional amendments was grounded in the urgent need to address social and economic disparities. They pointed to the ongoing efforts to uplift marginalized communities and the importance of having the legislative flexibility to adapt to changing societal needs. The Golaknath case thus became a pivotal moment in Indian history, highlighting the dynamic tension between preserving individual rights and enabling legislative progress. It underscored the importance of a robust and adaptable constitution that could both protect citizens' freedoms and facilitate the nation's development. The Supreme Court's decision in the Golaknath case ultimately set a significant precedent, shaping the future of constitutional law in India. It reaffirmed the inviolability of fundamental rights, while also prompting a re-evaluation of the balance between legislative power and judicial oversight. This landmark case remains a cornerstone in the ongoing evolution of Indian democracy. In a landmark judgment that would resonate for decades, The Supreme Court ruled that Parliament could not amend fundamental rights. This decision was a monumental moment in the history of Indian jurisprudence, setting a precedent that would influence countless future cases. The ruling underscored the inviolability of fundamental rights, ensuring that they remained beyond the reach of legislative amendments. This ruling was not just a legal victory, but a profound statement on the nature of India's democracy. It emphasized the importance of checks and balances, reinforcing the judiciary's role as the guardian of the Constitution. The judgment highlighted the delicate balance of power between the different branches of government, ensuring that no single entity could override the fundamental principles enshrined in the Constitution. It sent shockwaves through the political establishment, challenging the government's authority and reshaping the discourse on constitutional amendments. Political leaders were forced to reconsider their strategies, and the ruling became a focal point of intense debate and discussion. The judgment also had a significant impact on the public, who saw it as a victory for democratic principles and individual rights. The verdict was a turning point, not only for Indian law, but for the political landscape as well. It marked the beginning of a new era where the judiciary asserted its independence and authority. The case became a symbol of the ongoing struggle to maintain the sanctity of the Constitution and protect it from potential overreach by the legislative and executive branches. It set the stage for a fierce struggle between the executive and the judiciary, a struggle that would define the coming decade. The ruling ignited a series of legal and political battles, with each side vying to assert its interpretation of the Constitution. This period of intense conflict ultimately strengthened the democratic framework of the nation, as it underscored the importance of an independent judiciary and the need for constant vigilance in protecting constitutional rights. The case originated from a dispute involving the Golaknath family, who owned substantial farmland in Punjab. The family challenged the Punjab Security of Land Tenures Act, which aimed to redistribute land to the landless. They argued that the act violated their fundamental rights to property. The judgment came at a time when land reforms were a contentious issue in India. The government, led by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, was pushing for land redistribution to address economic disparities. The ruling, therefore, had significant implications for the government's land reform policies. The Golaknath case highlighted the tension between individual property rights and the state's efforts to promote social justice through land reforms. It brought to the forefront the debate on how to balance economic development with the protection of individual rights. Legal scholars and students extensively studied the Golaknath case, as it became a cornerstone in the field of constitutional law. The judgment was analyzed for its implications on the doctrine of basic structure, which would later be solidified in the Kesavananda Bharati case. Today, the Golaknath judgment continues to be a reference point in discussions about the limits of parliamentary power and the protection of fundamental rights. It serves as a reminder of the judiciary's crucial role in upholding the Constitution and safeguarding the rights of citizens. The aftermath of the Golaknath judgment saw a swift and determined response from the government. The ruling sent shockwaves through the political landscape, prompting immediate action from the legislative branch. The government, feeling its authority challenged, moved quickly to reassert its power and ensure that such a judicial check would not hinder its legislative agenda in the future. The 24th Amendment, passed in 1971, sought to reassert Parliament's authority by unequivocally stating that it had the power to amend any part of the Constitution, including fundamental rights. This was a direct response to the Supreme Court's ruling, which had placed significant limitations on Parliament's ability to alter the Constitution. The amendment was meticulously drafted, with legal experts and political leaders working tirelessly to ensure its passage. This amendment marked a crucial shift in the balance of power between the judiciary and the executive. It was not just a legal maneuver, but a strategic move to redefine the boundaries of legislative and judicial authority. The judiciary, which had long been seen as the guardian of the Constitution, now faced a formidable challenge from a determined executive branch. The amendment was more than a legislative action. It was a statement of intent. It was a clear message from the government that it would not be easily deterred by judicial pronouncements. The passage of the 24th Amendment was a testament to the government's resolve to maintain its legislative supremacy and to push through its policies, regardless of judicial opposition. It signaled the government's resolve to push through its agenda, even in the face of judicial resistance, and set the stage for further confrontations between these two pillars of democracy. The political climate of the 1970s was charged with debates and protests, as citizens and political leaders alike grappled with the implications of this significant constitutional change. Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister at the time, played a pivotal role in navigating this turbulent period, addressing the nation and rallying support for the government's actions. The 24th Amendment thus became a landmark in India's constitutional history, symbolizing the ongoing struggle for power and the dynamic nature of democratic governance. The judiciary, however, did not remain silent. The Kesavananda Bharati case in 1973 became a pivotal moment, where the Supreme Court introduced the basic structure doctrine, asserting that while Parliament could amend the Constitution, it could not alter its basic structure. This doctrine aimed to protect the core principles of the Constitution from being eroded by legislative amendments. The Kesavananda Bharati judgment was a landmark decision that further defined the limits of parliamentary power. It underscored the judiciary's role as a check on legislative overreach and reinforced the idea that certain fundamental principles of the Constitution were inviolable. The period following the Golaknath Case and the subsequent constitutional amendments was marked by intense political and legal battles. These events highlighted the dynamic and often contentious relationship between the different branches of government in India. The struggle for power and the quest to define the limits of authority continue to shape India's democratic framework to this day. The legacy of the Golaknath Case and the 24th Amendment remains significant in contemporary India. It serves as a reminder of the delicate balance of power that underpins the country's democratic institutions and the ongoing efforts to safeguard the Constitution's integrity. The Golaknath case didn't just reshape the legal landscape, it left a lasting imprint on Indian society. It ignited a national conversation about the limits of governmental power and the protection of fundamental rights, a conversation that continues to influence public discourse today. From classrooms to courtrooms, the case remains a critical point of reference for anyone studying or practicing constitutional law. It serves as a reminder of the fragility of rights in the face of unchecked power and the essential role of an independent judiciary. The case also highlighted the growing awareness among the Indian populace about their constitutional rights. Political leaders and activists used the case to rally support for greater democratic freedoms. In universities, it sparked debates and discussions that shaped the minds of future leaders. The media played a crucial role in disseminating information and educating the public about the case's implications. Even today, the Golaknath case is frequently cited in legal arguments and remains a cornerstone in the study of Indian constitutional law. It underscores the importance of an informed and active citizenry in safeguarding democracy. The case continues to inspire movements advocating for civil liberties and justice across the nation. The Golaknath case is more than just a chapter in legal textbooks. It's a testament to the enduring power of the judiciary to uphold the Constitution. It's a reminder of the need to protect our fundamental rights against the potential overreach of legislative power. The case arose when the Golaknath family challenged the Punjab government's move to acquire their farmland, leading to a landmark judgment. The Supreme Court ruled that Parliament could not curtail any of the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution, emphasizing the inviolability of these rights. This decision had far-reaching implications, influencing subsequent constitutional amendments and shaping the balance of power between the legislature and the judiciary. If you found this video insightful, Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth content on legal and constitutional milestones. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep learning. The Golaknath case remains a cornerstone in Indian constitutional history. It highlighted the balance between parliamentary power and fundamental rights. This landmark judgment set the stage for future debates and amendments, shaping the democratic framework of India. As citizens, it is crucial to understand these pivotal moments that define our rights and responsibilities. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep learning. Thank you for watching.